welcome everyone to our December 12th, 2023, 9 o'clock board briefing meeting, our last one of the year. It's kind of crazy to think of. So let the record reflect that the four commissioners are here: Commissioner Kearns, Commissioner French, Commissioner Waldrop, and Commissioner CUNY. Commissioner Jordan will be joining us at some point during the meeting, and then will join us this afternoon on Zoom. So with that, then we will go ahead and get started. So, George.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and happy holidays as you go on your holiday break. The first item that we have for you today is related to a couple of other resolutions that we brought before you in May and then again in October for the Community Development Block Grant Program. And this effectively is entering into the individual contracts for that. So we have 17 separate agreements that we'll be signing, entering into, and executing. So the table of those projects is included in your packet. So that's everything that we have to brief on that. If there are any questions.
Not seeing any.
And then we would invite the community and you all. We're having our second stakeholder meeting on funding priorities for our next request for proposals. That starts at 1 o'clock today at the Shadle Park Library. So anyone that's online and interested in joining us, please do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We have the sheriff's.
I believe I'm next.
Are you with the sheriff's office?
No, we have the sheriff's on.
Nope.
First,
Nope,
if they're
leave it
here,
to
if
me.
they're not, we're ready. Would
Okay,
you like us to jump up?
go ahead.
Okay,
Alright.
yeah. Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning. For everybody's reminder, this is Jamie Hayes. She is one of our funding gurus, and she's here to tell us about money we got. So always a fun topic.
So as Kyle said, I am here to talk about $2.8 million that we received from TIB, also known as the Transportation Improvement Board. This summer, the Public Works Department applied for two different projects through the TIB. One is the UAP, which is an urban arterial program. That was for Hatch Road Phase 2. The total project cost for this project was a little over $3 million. We requested $2.4 million and we were awarded $2.4 million with a required 20% match. The other project that we applied for was the Rowan Avenue ADA and curb rock replacement project. This is through the ATP project, which is an active transportation project through TIB. The total project cost for this is just a little over $500,000. We requested $425,000 and were awarded the full amount of $425,000 with an approximate 20% match as well. Next slide, please. This is existing Hatch Road Phase 2, what it looks like. And then we can go on to the next slide, please. It's a little hard to see, but as you can see, the project is located in north central Spokane County, just to get you kind of familiar with the project location. Next slide, please. As indicated in the title, Hatch Road Phase 2, this is Phase 2 of a two-phase project. Phase 1 was awarded TIB funding last year. It is in blue, starting at Midway, going up to about Ballard Road. This is about a half-mile long project. Collectively, this entire project is a mile long. And then the project that we just got funded is circled in green. I want to leave it on this slide for a moment because I want to point out that we have the renovated Bidwell Park Aquatic Center that has pathways, ball field, playground equipment, and pathways up to the north, and then to the south we have Midway Elementary School with a student body of just over 400. To the west of this project is primarily residential. The reason or the purpose and the need for this project is that on the west side, with a primary amount of residential, there is a lack of sidewalk, ADA curb ramps, there's no active transportation facilities, and it does not have any stormwater facilities, and this sits over an aquifer recharge area. Moving on to the next slide, please. So collectively, Hatch Road Phase 1 and 2 will reconstruct the road. We're gonna reallocate the drive lane space to 11 feet to make room for a 6-foot sidewalk, 5-foot bike lane, 7 to 10 foot swales, ADA curb ramps. There is an offset crosswalk to the south that is a little bit awkward for the children to access the school, so that will be moved, and then we're gonna have a crossing with a pedestrian curb ramp at Ballard, about at the halfway point, and then a crossing with a pedestrian island at the park as well.
Let me interrupt you real quick, Jamie. For one, just update, we have been in discussions with TIB, and we've been going back and forth on potentially revising that to separate that bike facility. So instead of having the bike lanes there adjacent to the lanes, actually doing a shared use path. We think there's really good merit in that, so we will be in discussions with them about that potential change in section out there. That's just kind of a new revelation with that, but with the type of roadway, if we can do a separated bike facility and do that shared use path, there's definitely some safety benefits to that.
The ADT to the south is over 7,000, the ADT to the north is 5,000, which is pretty high.
So who at TIB are you working with?
Jake?
Our
Andrew?
conversation so far has been with the TIB engineer, Andrew.
Andrew Beagle, yeah. He's great, he's new.
Yeah. Let me know if you need any help
And he's
on that
working
one.
over here now, which is awesome. We can get a hold of them very quickly and we can meet in person if we need to. It's really convenient.
Yeah, I think you know that I sit on TIB.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me know if I can weigh in and help you any.
Do you have any questions before I move on to the next project? Okay, great. Oh, go ahead.
All right, so the shared use path, would that just be in the new section?
On
that
the
you're
west
talking
side,
about?
yeah.
Okay,
The-
just
the-
on one side of the
On the east
road?
side, there's existing sidewalk, there's existing
Right.
swale.
So just be on the other side?
Yeah, and it can,
Both phases though, so phase 1 and 2 and continuously
So
on
when
the
you say a
west side.
shared, would it be like
Like a Centennial Trail.
the
on west
Centennial
side.
Trail going up Doomsday Hill?
No, we'll be separated. So there'll be a 5 to 6 foot buffer between the curb for separation and then a 10-foot asphalt trail.
Yeah, similar to what we did out at Amazon, out on the West Plains.
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll move on to the next project, if that's okay. And this is the Rowan Avenue 88 curb ramps. This is an exciting project because this is new funding that the county's never received before through the ATP. And this is existing conditions out there. You can see they're not great. That's a deteriorated curb ramp if you can barely see it. And then we'll move on to the next slide so I can kind of move this project along. And this is, if you can see, it is in the east central part of Spokane County, adjacent to the state line. Next slide, please. It is from Star Road to Idaho Road, and it is about a mile long, almost exactly, just north of Wellesley and Appleway Boulevard. And next slide, please. So this part of Rowan Avenue primarily serves residential as well. There's some light industrial to the southwest, and then there's East Farms Elementary School, and then to the north of East Farms Elementary School is the Sheriff's Training Center. Existing curb ramps are either out of compliance or non-existent. Inadequate or missing curb ramps force pedestrians, bicyclists, mothers walking their children with strollers, and people with disabilities to travel within the roadway competing with vehicles. This improves access, particularly for the students, and looking up Washington State Report Card, which says a website I use that covers all Washington State schools. This is important because 67% of the students in East Farm School District have been identified as low income, 4% as homeless, and 25% have been identified with a disability. So this is going to help students and the residents get back and forth and use active transportation and a little bit safer and not have to be in the street. So with that, do you have any questions about this project? Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Gentlemen, come join us. That already is.
Guys, keep going.
Okay, we'll roll into it. As you all know, Matt Zaricork, county engineer with us here. This is Jake Saxon. He is our design engineer, the head of our design team here in our capital program here, talking a little bit about the results of a request for qualifications for a project that Al may or may not know anything about.
Maybe.
So, here to talk about, awarding a consultant contract for the, Craig Road and I-94 Lakes Interchange Connection Access Revision Report. Basically where we're at is the, purpose of our request for qualifications was to acquire services from consulting firms, with expertise in transportation planning, traffic engineering, and environmental and civil design. The estimated budget for the consultant contract is $500,000. Next slide. A little bit about the project is at the Cheney Four Lakes interchange, there is no direct access to the north on Craig Road for transportation access. There is indirect access through Four Lakes community, but as far as transportation for heavy trucks, stuff like that, it's a very difficult route. So basically the work performed by this consultant contract will be to study an interchange access revision to create a new northerly transportation connection from the interchange up to Craig Road, where anticipated future development and current development with a lot of the airport lands, Fairchild Air Force Base, and then up to US2 and Airway Heights. So that's kind of the idea of this project. Next slide. As far as the RFQ process, we had 5 firms submit, and a panel of public works employees, including 3 from our capital projects team and 2 from our transportation planning group. Evaluated the proposals, selected the three highest proposal packages, and then scheduled interviews with those. The scoring criteria was based on the relevant project experience, team experience, project approach, and then their ability to do stakeholder and public engagement. So next slide. Finally, we held interviews. Public Works Review Panel held interviews with the top 3 candidates. The highest ranked proposal held true through the interview process, and we recommend HDR for the Craig Road I-94 Lakes Interchange Connection Access Revision Report project. Is there any questions?
Just one comment, commissioners, here, is that due to the timing of when this came through in purchasing, there was a request to consider the approval of this at today's legislative agenda. I know we really try not to ask you to approve anything in brief, but with the holidays and the gap between the next opportunity here, we could get a jump on about 3 to 4 weeks of work by getting this contract approved today, if you would consider that.
Is it on the agenda?
It is.
Would you indulge me and give you a little bit more background in terms of some of the other stuff that's going on there? It'll be real quick. Can you go back to the site map again?
I don't have a mouse.
Gina?
No, it's wrong.
Oh, it's not. Wrong, sorry.
Wrong, it's listed.
Yeah. So. Go back. Big picture. So this is where they're talking about doing a circle and the access off of Craig Road to come down here. I just want to remind the board that just north of here, Louisiana Pacific has already purchased 85 acres to build a 1 million square foot manufacturing facility on that site. And Highline is looking at extending the rail parallel to I-90 up to Medical Lake. So this project is critical from the standpoint of economic development, but it's also critical for Fairchild Air Force Base. Right now, Fairchild staff have got to go through here to be able to get to Cheney, where a good significant portion of Fairchild employees live, servicemen and women. With this, they'll be able to go right in. So it's part of that that strategy to try and get better access onto Fairchild Air Force Base for military men and women that are living in Cheney and stuff. So I just wanted to give you the rest of the context about why this project has surfaced to the level that it has. And again, we've already received funding from the federal delegation. It's been supported by Catherine Morris Rogers, Senator Murray, and Senator Cantwell. And a conversation we had last week with Senator Murray's office. She continues to be supportive of this effort. And so, and it was also supported by the House and Senate this year in the transportation budget. So the funding was vetoed by the governor, but in meetings that we've had with the Transportation Commission, both the Ledge and Senate, both of them have been high on this project. So we expect that we'll get more money out of the state for this as well. So just wanted to give you more context in terms of the sense of support for this. And then last, I think I mentioned Matt, but I don't remember, that big pile of dirt that said Medical Lake Interchange, we can take that. I've talked to the ownership and they said, it's yours, U-Haul, it's yours. So as we look at a grade separation there, that we've got a pile of dirt, we just need to shift down the hill a little bit. So anyway, a little bit of background for you. Thank you.
Anything else?
So do you need a motion today to be able to?
It's on the ledge
No, it's on the
agenda.
agenda.
I just
Okay,
wanted
it's
to
on
make you
for this
aware.
afternoon. Got it.
Thank you.
Heather, and she's in. So she's gonna brief on both. Yeah, so she's gonna brief on the sheriff's fund as well. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning.
So we were just moving along on our agenda, so there we go. And I heard you may be briefing on behalf of the sheriffs for the STOP grant.
Yeah, the sheriff's award for this STOP grant, they got their award before the prosecutor's office did. So this year's award is for $28,700. It will provide funds for them to continue their violence against women services. So outreach and public awareness, coordinated response team, and then victim safety and recovery. And that provides funds just for the period of 2024, so January 1 to December 31. This is just their typical annual award that comes in.
Is that on today's agenda?
No, that will be on the January
It'll be-
one.
Okay.
This is
okay.
just the briefing.
Wasn't sure if this was one of those that, all right, sorry, gotta sneak this on.
No, just the briefing before the,
And then you're gonna talk about the stabilization of newly arriving
yeah.
refugees.
So I went through and was able to get some of the data that we talked about last week. What I found from the 3 agencies that assisted with the application was that the information provided by the state only provides the data that of those refugees coming into the state, not necessarily those that flow to Spokane. It appears that that information is supposed to be maintained by those agencies that are receiving those refugees. The 3 agencies, so Thrive basically reported that about 95+% is all the Ukrainian they have. Right now, they're serving 1 Venezuelan family. Spokane Slavic reported that they were 96% Ukraine with some others in there. World Relief and IRC's report was
All over the board.
it just seemed not, I don't know what the word I want to use is, it didn't
Not
seem.
consistent with what we're seeing.
Yeah, not consistent with what the state was. They seemed like their report showed they were serving a third of all Syrian refugees that were coming to the entire state. And that was their largest population. Where they were only serving maybe like 3% of the Ukrainian refugees that were coming to the entire state. So I don't know why that data
How
was.
many is that? How many refugees?
They,
Syrian.
Syrian, they had,
In Spokane or statewide?
Well, it doesn't matter, because if it's a third.
Number, as I recall, was like 400 statewide, and a third of those were Spokane.
yeah, it was like
Same with-
160 something.
Yeah, same with Congo
But Ukrainians, that they said they were serving 41, and statewide we got over 2,200.
Yeah, they're dated, if you looked at state and you just kind of assume proportionality coming to Spokane, their proportions were way askew, where you'd have thought the vast majority would have been Ukrainian, and it was one of the smallest demographics. I don't know if that's because Thrive and the Slavic community are serving more of the Ukrainians, but
And how many Ukrainians are coming in? How many, I mean,
So-
I guess, just saying number, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like having a.
Washington
ability
State
to know
said
the
they,
number.
so for the Ukrainian, they said they had like 2,200, just over 2,200 Ukrainians that were accepted in Washington State. But they don't have, the state doesn't provide data on, of those who just came to Spokane.
But did Thrive say how, I mean,
They
other than
didn't, they just
90%?
said they could say 90+% of who they were serving, 95+% of who they were serving. Spokane Slavic did one based on those who were actually using the closet, the Ukrainian closet. So they had about 1,800 responses of those that they calculated this year, and over 96% were all Ukrainian.
So with the Ukrainian refugees, it's my understanding that one of the challenges they're experiencing now is a lack of resources to deal with childcare, so that the parents can actually go out and seek employment and stuff. Is there any provision, or is there any pathway to where we could say, you know, part of this funding should be dedicated to childcare so that we can assist in getting people to work?
Yes, and that's what we did include in our
Okay.
RFP responses, that we said we specifically wanted childcare, as well as it was pointed out by Justin Johnson that he thought another area we needed to focus on was the victims DV focus, some DV training, and human trafficking training. So those are two other things that are pointed out very specifically in our application that we would provide funds to focus some training on,
Thank you.
as well as housing and any basic needs.
Yeah.
In the last page of the handout, I did provide the actual operating budget proviso language, which just states that these funds are provided solely for grants to counties to stabilize newly arriving refugees, including those from the 2021 Afghanistan conflict and the 2022 Russia-Ukraine conflict.
Sorry, is this in the packet?
Yeah.
Is this in the packet?
No, it's, I don't.
I can't read from here, sorry. Can you say what it says again?
Here, Ron will blow it up for you.
Blow it up for me, please. Okay, thank you. That's better. that's what you're suggesting?
Yeah, that would be my suggestion, is that that's what we use in the RFP, that the
Seems
funds
good.
we've received are used for that. The only other suggestion that I have is that our goal is to select only one entity. These funds, there's not a lot, and with only 5% admin into the agency, there's just not a lot to spread beyond more than one entity.
And so if multiple organizations wanted to take part, there'd have to be one agency though, that would be the main contract.
Correct, they could then subcontract out if they wanted to,
Okay.
correct.
That sounds like a good. Less paperwork and they can work it out amongst,
Themselves.
I think, I'm sorry, I missed last week's briefing, but I thought some of the agencies were meeting this week too.
Yeah, they
to
said
discuss.
they were
Okay.
meeting, but I was able to get that, at least some data from them.
Okay.
Sound good?
Good.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for working hard to make it happen. I think
Thank you.
it is still helpful to have these dollars coming into our community and help support the refugees that are here.
Thank you, Heather.
Good morning.
Good morning. We've got a very quick financial update and then sales tax update for you. Give Ron a sec to get it queued up.
Some cash falling out of your pocket, so I'm assuming it's
Not
good.
quite yet.
Not quite yet.
Perfect, thank you. So with the close of November, we are just shy of 92% of the way through the year. So as we kind of look through most of the agencies on the right side there, most are right in line, getting close to the 92%. So we are watching several of these agencies and may have some budget amendments in the new year, looking back into 2023 to kind of realign anywhere we may have missed the mark a little. And I will highlight under governmental transfers, pretty tiny up there, but the overall budget was a little over 15 million and we've spent just about 3 million. We do expect to do a lot of year-end cleanup with some transfers, but we will do a budget amendment to move some of the budget forward into the next year, as it was ARP revenue replacement dollars that we did not spend in 23. We had it available, but we'll move it forward into 2024. And then we also still have about $3 million unspent on capital. So we'll see if some of that gets cleaned up here close to the end of the year. If not, we'll see if there are various purchases that are going to be carried over into 2024 as well. On to revenues real quick. We've received most all of the property taxes for the year, given that we still have one more month to go. There's always some late collections trickling in, but we did hit about 92% of our budget for the year, which is a little higher than 90% last year at the same time. So that is good. And then with that, I'll let Jason kick it off to sales tax.
So I'm just gonna double check. So this isn't, I'm not seeing it
It's the very last, you gotta go to
at the very end.
the
Okay.
end of the slideshow.
Jason, we'll let you go. Sorry.
No,
Just trying to find it on here.
I'd rather wait, trust me. So, sales tax. So this for November's collections based on September's activity. Sales tax for the month was relatively flat. For the year, we're up just a little bit, 2.1% over last year, which is less than we had budgeted for. So it's pretty much on trend with what we've been, like, pretty much the whole year.
And what was the number we budgeted for?
3.9%. Yeah, so falling a little bit short. It's just kind of trending a little bit downward. Next slide, please. There in your package, you'll be able to see it easier than looking on that screen. So we had budgeted 78.5 for sales tax. It looks like we're probably going to be about we're projecting maybe about $1 million short, which again, that'll be about the 2%. You see on the forecast on the bottom left, we trended pretty well except for, or we forecasted pretty well, so maybe February was a little bit rough, but we'll see how this next month goes. But probably about $1 million short at the 77.5. Next slide. So on these indicators, again, pretty similar to the prior month. The most notable change, at least that I thought, was retail trade is usually about 40 to 41% of our collections. And this is the first time we've seen a bigger drop in that. So to go down to 37% was a big hit because that's, if you see, it's down 7% for September. So it's a much larger impact for us. So even though accommodation and food sectors, you see a bump up, that's also one of our smaller categories. So it doesn't have as much of an impact on our revenues. Next slide.
Yeah, and what we're seeing is that there's a shift in buying pattern from retail trade over to travel. And so we're seeing an increase in travel, both airfares and hotels and stuff. So there's how people are spending their money.
Right, yep, absolutely. Where they're not spending, residential building and non-residential building, right? So that sector, residential building down 8% year over year, non-residential building down 18% year over year for the month, right? You can see it, year to date, it would be the figure right below, which I'm sure everybody's aware of. Just talking about the building, interest rates are definitely affecting that. So hopefully as those come down, those figures will go up. Next slide. So really rough one, auto industry, right? Again, very discretionary. So when people are broke, no one's going out and buying all these new cars, or even used cars for that matter. Motor vehicle, the other motor vehicle dealers like RVs, boats, a huge hit, so down 51% for the month, which is obviously significant. For the year, for that sector's down 22%. So you can infer from that how people are feeling about the economy and where they're going to be directing their spending. So next slide. So this sector's up, which is good, but a big part of that, from some of the reading that we've been doing, is that ticket sales, the average ticket sales for restaurants are up, but the amount of customers is still down. So food costs went up, labor costs went up. So the revenue that's being generated is higher, but so even though it's kind of green in that corner, it's really not that great. The big spending shift from like full service restaurants, like places like Blinker Daggers, Europa, the spending shift has been down to where it says like snacks and non-alcoholic beverage bars. That's like Starbucks, coffee stands, like really convenient places to grab a quick drink or bite. They were doing really, really well. So
Thank you.
yes, I definitely appreciate that.
You are now a line item on the income statement.
That stock high.
But the interesting thing is on this one, it's my understanding that alcohol sales in grocery stores is up and stuff. And so what's happening is that they are choosing to drink at home and not out at the restaurants or anything like that as part of their meals.
Yeah, it's definitely cheaper. People are determined, they're gonna find a way.
Costco's
When
loving
you
it.
mix the drink, you save about 50% on it.
And then next slide.
No matter how much you drink, your spouse is still there.
I didn't want to put that in the presentation. So on this slide, I just have to apologize. Last month on this slide, you'll see a difference. On the city of Spokane, I put 9.1, or instead of 9. That was just an error on my part. So the sales tax is actually only 9% instead of 9.1%. So sorry about that if you noticed that difference. That was an error on my part. But you'll see if someone makes a purchase in the city of Spokane compared to the unincorporated areas inside the PTVA or the public transportation
Transportation
benefit
benefit
area.
area.
Transportation benefit area.
Thank you. And, or outside of it, you can see how much sales tax they're paying and what the county's gonna be collecting from that. So if they make a purchase in the city, or in a city, the county's gonna get 15 cents, as opposed to, in the unincorporated areas, it'd be $1. So much bigger impact if they make those purchases there. Next slide. The final slide. This is just showing where our revenue is generated from. So not taxable sales, just the revenue that we generate. So the combination of unincorporated areas, the inside and outside the PTBA is 58%. Next, we generate 24% of our revenue from the city of Spokane, and you can see the breakdown for the jurisdictions after that. And that is it, unless you guys have any questions.
So do you have any, I don't know, in your data collection, are any of those cities that you have listed up there, are they trending down in terms of sales tax, trending up in terms of sales tax? Is there any kind of indicator that you thought?
That's a great question, and I haven't looked at that, but I'll definitely try to see if there's been a change in where the revenue is being generated, and I can send that out to you.
Because that also represents a shift in buying patterns in terms of where people are going. And, you know, with the sales tax being the highest in the city, has that led to people spending less in the city, spending more in the valley where is that 1% a deciding factor or not? I don't know.
I think one of the trends that we did see come out of COVID was a shift to doing more online purchases.
Yes.
And then it's based on sales tax destination. So if you were, unincorporated, you weren't necessarily going into big box to buy things, you were getting them shipped at home. So in that situation, the county benefited from that because we were getting more of that sales tax shipping to us, whereas the cities were seeing some decreases.
But that dynamic is almost turned around and stuff, because a lot of folks that were buying online now, what they were missing in that was the social interaction of shopping. And so the traffic pattern is starting to increase at some of the retailers. The dollar amount is not, but the traffic pattern is and stuff. And so we've seen that in some of the major retailers.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just because you're seeing more sales online, and so people tend to be buying online more.
Yeah.
And inventories are down in the major
Oh,
retailers.
way down.
So you're not getting that variety or checking sizes and stuff like you
Yep.
used to, so you may as well just buy it online and return it if you need to. And I mean, I think more and more people have, because of COVID, have shifted to that and really haven't shifted back
Oh,
retail as much.
definitely that. The other thing that's happened is that some of the major large box stores are allowing you to do the returns in store.
Yes.
As opposed to doing it online and mailing it back and stuff. And so that's the other thing that they're doing to try and drive traffic into their stores.
I never miss the social interaction of shopping. Maybe I just didn't miss shopping. I don't know.
And then I guess I have a question, because like I live in unincorporated, but I'm right on the border. And so sometimes the sales tax is 9%, sometimes it's 8.9%. So
Yes, so
I don't know how you,
it's how the retailer will report, and there are some times where
and because
they may report incorrectly. So
because I'm
that
curious
comes,
who gets that revenue then, if it's 9%, is it, are they
Absolutely.
to the city versus unincorporated county?
right, we had a constituent email us about a concern that a store was reporting incorrectly, and that really falls on DOR, so we just made them aware. Hopefully they can get it corrected. I'm sure with the amount of stores that they have to look at, I'm sure there's gonna be times where there's gonna be errors.
And then it's always interesting too for people to understand that, like, again, living in the unincorporated, but my husband's business is in the city, so if I have it shipped to his business, then the city gets the sales tax revenue versus the county. So, as people are worried about, porch thieves and all of that, that's also something that then affects, or for us, it's the winter road. Pests just like to come up.
I think a lot of people are choosing to ship to their work because of the concern of leaving packages on their front porch.
Yeah, so we could see a shift in retail sales tax going more towards the cities because people are back to work versus what we saw during the height of COVID.
So I'll trend that out and see if I can put something together and see
And
what
just be
sort of
interesting to
changes.
see.
Have you heard more employers are requiring the employees to go work out of the office now? I don't know. I'm curious because I know that downtown there still seems to be this reluctance to bring employees back down. But I don't know in the other areas. Is that something that's starting to change now?
I mean, I think it just depends on the employers. I think
Yeah.
like in Seattle, my daughter and son-in-law are still working from home. My daughter's in the office one day a week is all they're going into the office. And I think we're still seeing downtown here that it's not back to where it was pre-COVID, and I don't think it ever will be.
No.
So they'd like to figure out how to convert office space into retail or apartments and condos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't think it's ever gonna quite come back to where it was.
Well, I think I mentioned that one of the retailers in the downtown area said that the real vacancy rate, the published vacancy rate is running at about 15%, but the real vacancy rate, because employees have not brought their employers back, is closer to 40%. 40% of the downtown office space is not occupied.
I've heard something similar where companies who have chosen to shut down their operations, relocate or just shut them down, is it shown in vacancy or not because they're still under lease?
Yeah, it's still
not a
leased
true
until the lease
vacancy.
renewal comes out.
Even though it's vacant.
Yep.
Or if you think about employees only coming in 1 or 2 days a week, yes, it's leased, but in terms of like them going and spending money downtown for lunch and frequenting businesses, it's half the amount of people. If you split it in half by the week, because I know my friend that works at Travelers, it's a split hybrid. I don't think they'll ever go, I agree with you. I don't think they'll ever go back.
No, I think it's part of the flexibility that the newer generation is and the workforce is wanting. And I know again for Jacobs, they had a building over in Bellevue, and they've reduced their footprint to things like 10 floors, 3 floors, because as they're bringing them in once a week, it's different teams that are coming in on different days, so they're not, it's all shared space, for the most part shared space. So yeah, it's just a new
Dynamic.
dynamic.
But geez, you were just full of all kinds of cheer.
I
Merry
know.
Christmas.
I know, Randy told you if it's me doing it, it's gonna be a bad one, you know?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I got a note that Chris Jordan was gonna join us at 10:15 for the discussion on the meeting schedule. And will not be able to join before then. So if you guys are amenable, then we'll maybe just take a break until 10:15. Is there any other miscellaneous items?
I do not have anything. We do have a couple of exec session items. Just depending on whether you.
There's G,
Yes.
there's 2 items there. There's the meetings, but then there's the report.
Yeah, I think we'll just do that with that. Since it's put that way.
Do you know if Chris was planning on staying and joining the exec session?
I do not know, so I would think we could go ahead and do the exec sessions now.
It would be nice to do those since we have a little bit extra time this morning.
Yeah, I would say let's just go ahead and do that.
Okay.
So we'll hold off on the meeting schedule till 10:15, but we've got a couple of executive sessions that we'll go ahead and do at this point.
Okay. Do your first one.
Okay. There's one under pending potential litigation pursuant to RCW 4230-110-1I. No action is requested from the board. It will be for approximately 10 minutes. We'll include the board, myself, CEO Scott Simmons, and anybody else in that one?
Okay, that was it. And then we've got two under acquisition, lease real estate, RCW 4230-110-1B. The first one will be for 10 minutes and will include the same that Chris just listed off, board, Chris Anderson and myself. And then the second under real estate will be another 10 minutes, same individuals.
Okay, we're
We've
gonna
got a
go.
fourth one, but I think we'll wait until after. Yeah,
Okay.
because I think we'll run out of time.
Okay, so we are gonna go into executive session for a total of 30 minutes for the three items just stated. No action anticipated at the end. And just with the commissioners, Scott Simmons and Chris Anderson will be in attendance. Thank you. We will see everybody back at 9:50, so 10:20. Okay, welcome Welcome everyone back. It is now 10:21 and we are out of executive session. So I guess we officially extended 1 minute. Not really, but, just trying to get everything set back up to get us going, so. So no decisions were made. That's gonna take us to the 2024 meeting schedule. We have been joined by Commissioner Chris Jordan, who's on Zoom. Thank you for joining us. So our schedule. Who wants to start? If we just want to start at the top and work our way down, or have a general discussion ahead of it. There was one that I noticed. I think it's fine.
Wait, are we doing schedule or are we doing committees?
Committees.
Committees, okay, that's good.
There was one that came up here last week with regard to the clean air. Clean air has always historically been, my executive was the alternate to clean air because it doesn't have to be an elected. But in this time, we discovered this last week, is that we've got Josh as the alternate for clean air.
Yes.
Did you want to be alternate to clean
Well,
air?
I think we talked about, since we have 5 commissioners now, that if it's a commissioner appointment, to the alternate, would be one of the commissioners.
Okay,
Because I think you'll see that with all of them, that we put commissioners down as the alternates.
so I know.
Whoever wants it. Well, I mean, I didn't have to fill in for you at all, so
Well, no, because I had Victoria filling in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we just
which is fine.
We just discovered that it was you last week, because I had Victoria filling in, and Jim said, well, I think it might be, and so then we discovered that, oh, it's Josh. We didn't know it until last week. Obviously, you didn't know it until last week either.
Well, I would say we all talked about it last year when we did boards and commissions, that the alternates would be another commissioner instead of one of our assistants, since we had commissioners. So, and we can get there. The other one that I know is on here wrong is the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee has me on it for some reason, and that's you, Josh.
lodging tax, so I don't know if that one ever meets.
Yeah.
Right, but who's ever on
So-
the other,
Well, no, the
TPA.
TPA goes with Visit Spokane. Lodging tax advisor, I don't know I don't know if that one meets or not. If you want to put that with the Visit Spokane bundle, I mean, I'm fine with that, but I don't believe that's one that really meets.
that means,
So
it just seems-
PTA meets, and I've attended those, but yeah, LTAC, I don't know.
So, okay. I would say I'd probably go with that bundle, just because but if they never meet, maybe they never have.
If they do, I haven't gotten any emails about it, and I haven't heard anybody talk about it. Did you get any emails on it throughout the year? Yeah, I don't think they.
Like I said, I thought it was like, I was wrong, but I only saw it when I saw the schedule.
Okay.
So, okay. So how do we want to do this? Just go one by one?
Does anybody want to change anything? Or is everybody comfortable with what they have?
I'm good with what I got.
I have no complaints.
The only thing is that there's 2 committees that you need to add to the bottom, FMCIB and TIB.
And are you still on, wait,
I'm a past president on the executive committee, so.
oh,
Yeah,
no,
she's still on the executive committee as past
but
president.
your building code council, does that
No,
need to come off?
you take that off.
Okay, so that one
Yeah.
has to be scratched.
Yeah, scratch building code council and add TIB and FMCIB. And as soon as I get through the policy restructuring on FMCIB, I'll resign from FMCIB and let that go to somebody else. But in the meantime, I'm still, the governor's office and WashDOT has asked that I stay there until we finish the restructuring the policy, because the legislature has changed the scope of FMCIB and what they do. And when I attended FMCIB, they said, okay, you're gonna be in charge of policy and you're the chair. But, so anyway, so we're doing that, and
I'd
that
say-
we're done.
Reach out to President Lisa Janicki.
Okay,
Because I think that the thought was you were coming off
yeah,
from Wassac's perspective, and since it's a Wassac appointment, have you reach out to Lisa Janicki?
okay, I'll reach out to Lisa. Yeah.
You said it's freight mobility.
Freight Mobility State Investment Board.
Since we're trying not to have one commissioner on all three.
I understand. I didn't seek out FEMSID. The governor asked me to be on it and stuff, so that was, I didn't go seeking it.
No, but I think that was part of the discussion when we had the crab appointment, was that we would be coming off FEMSID and allow somebody else, so.
And I went back to the governor's office and said, I'm going to step off, and he asked me not to. And WashDOT also asked me not to and stuff, so that's why I'm still there. But
Like I
I'd
said,
like to be off of it as soon as possible because it just complicates things, but I'm trying to get off of it.
So reach out to Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay. I do know on the ones I'm on the campus security committee, that I think it's in resolution, it says that it's the chair. They're looking at changing the resolution, so I'm happy to have it just be a commissioner, not be the chair of the board on that committee as we look
Those are
to
fun
change
meetings.
the resolution. They're good and informative, I just, there's a lot of, like, the law library is required by RCW to be the chair. And so is the finance committee. So it's kind of like the ones that aren't required, I'd rather, just allow it to be.
Where is campus security? I'm seeing campus.
Spokane County.
Oh, there it is. Spokane County campus.
So any changes that anybody wants to make?
I'm okay.
Commissioner Jordan?
Can you hear me okay, Madam Chair?
Yes, I can, thank you.
I thought I remember that Commissioner French was volunteering to go back on Martin Hall, but I might be misremembering that, but otherwise I'm good.
What bar are you in? Because you're clearly drinking.
There's gotta be Bailey's in that coffee, right?
Neither confirm nor deny.
Okay,
So are we changing the lodging tax from CUNY to Kearns?
yes.
And we're adding tip and FEMSID below the line. I'll change broadband PDA to broadlink, I just noticed, since we've officially made them, those are the only changes.
Yeah, and maybe just put I would leave it broadband PDA, because that's the true entity.
Okay,
And it's just doing business as broadband.
and I'll leave it as is,
You can put it
parenthetical,
PDA,
DBA broadlink.
Yeah, because like West Plains PDA says West Plains PDA, but it's actually called S3R3.
so then you can put doing business as S3R3.
Okay.
Do you want, with the theme of the commissioners as alternates, medical examiner advisory council? And, Amber's on that. My name's on there as the alternate. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I'm happy to be the alternate for that.
So CUNY on medical examiner.
How many times did they meet this last year, Amber?
I had 0 meetings.
Oh,
Really?
You should
I don't remember
reach out.
having a meeting.
They met more when we were designing and finding a place, but now that they've got a building and stuff, there's really not much need for that.
Maybe there was
building.
one,
Should
there
we
might have been
maybe-
one.
A couple times a year at least do just an update to the price rate committee. So
Who else sits on that committee?
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
the sheriff's office.
Sheriff's Office,
Police
State
chief.
Patrol, and county, and prosecutor, and medical examiner.
And a commissioner.
Yeah.
So reach out. I mean, I would say any of these committees, if you're not getting information, you reach out or have your assistant reach out. So that way everyone's on there. And then Valley Chamber, you're good to stay on there.
I don't think there's any named alternate on the campus security committee, so probably can
I
take
think
off
it's just
mine.
in resolution or
Yes,
just,
it's in resolution.
so again, I just leave you there until you change that resolution.
Yeah, because the CEO position is not a named position on the resolution right now.
Okay,
Scratch it.
you can scratch it. I really think that's gonna be coming back to make change. It is. So, yeah, they're working on it.
I think that whole committee structure needs to be reevaluated in terms of its role and responsibility.
Okay. Then I think.
Gina, I was saying you guys do need to vote on this. You guys wanted to open public comment
Can we do by leave this afternoon?
Yep.
Sounds
There
good.
were a couple of changes, so it might be good to get a
Just
clean
update it.
and
draft,
realize that.
to have on the dais, just so it's all right.
And then tell me the law seconds passed.
But you'll need for executive committee.
Yes, it's
What time is that?
one more year. So do we, part of that's then doing the schedule calendar. Are we on to the next item? Okay, so I guess it's just like a calendar and make sure we've got basically the set weeks off of the first week of January. The GSI fly-in. I think we can still do the 16th, or do you guys not want to do the 16th of January?
I guess, is anybody going over that early?
Going over to,
Olympia, the fly-in, GSI fly-in?
I may leave out the meeting and drive over,
I will be.
already be over there.
Yeah.
So
Do all
if you can
five of
zoom
you-
in to Tuesday. I just worry that we're gonna have a lot of stuff stacked up since we're off for 3 weeks and we have 1 week with the 16th, we may at least wanna have it. Because there's gonna be stuff we need to get briefed on the 9th to approve on the 16th.
Yeah, I can zoom on the 16th, that's
Fine. Thoughts?
I think it'd be good to have one just because of the time in between. Probably be good to have a number of sessions.
Okay.
Do all 5 of you plan to attend Olympias? We're trying to streamline how the billing goes between GSI and the county. So if all 5 of you know you're going to Olympia, that will help me work with Leona on figuring that out.
Yes, I will be there.
I will be there.
I'll be there.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then, just for the board's edification, your strategic planning meetings are by code first and third Monday of the month, but we oftentimes have holidays that conflict, so we've just made a shift on the calendar to be like the second and fourth if we have a conflict with a holiday.
So the one thing, and Victoria run the calendar column. The one thing we probably should add to this is my CRAB, TIB, and FMSIP meetings, because they overlap.
I audited, I'll give it to you.
Okay, good, yeah, because they're like the GSI fly-in, I got 2 of those meetings at the same time, so I'll be with those groups as well.
February.
And the situation as it is now, I'll be with LSC every other week in Olympia and stuff, so we can add that on here as well, because it's nothing to drop down there and do that.
And I don't think it has to be on here. Need to be on here.
Doesn't have to be.
I would say don't worry about that. I mean, I'm not gonna worry about putting my executive committee meetings and all that. I think it's just like board meetings.
Yeah.
That we need to. Because I think, when's our first board meeting? January. But yeah, I'll have to get the board meetings for Wasac, so we have those. Okay, those are on the board. And again, if commissioners are gonna be out, just if we can make sure the week before we know. Instead of trying to have everybody's doing stuff. I think that's just easier to make sure that a week before that Scott or Scott knows. Scott, trying to keep you up as the one who's the keeper of the commissioners' calendars, as they're gonna be gone next week. So.
Thank you.
Well, I think we talked about that before, that to make sure you're aware. So that way, if you need to adjust anything that's on the agendas, you don't have a quorum or not.
So in March, I'll be gone from the 13th until the 25th.
Are you zooming in, or you're gonna be gone?
I would like to be gone, but I guess I could zoom in if I have to.
It's your choice. So, but if you're, at this point, you wanna state that you're gone?
I'm gonna be gone.
April, then that first week, usually when's Easter? Oh, Commissioner Jordan, sorry.
Just wanted to give everyone a heads up that right around the end of March, beginning of April, I expect to be out on some parental leave for a while. So I'll have to work that out as I go. Probably would expect that similar to Councilmember Bingle, who went through a similar life event last year, I'll be zooming in a lot more and have a lot less in-person availability for a while, but I'll keep you posted on that. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Just for general awareness.
Very good, thank you. Yes, you can't anticipate the exact date of that.
I'll keep you posted.
How many times is Easter in March?
I know, Easter is the 31st of March. I wonder I didn't see it, okay. So then, the first week of April is usually off because that's spring break week. So staff and everybody take that off, so that's a week off. 15th of April, that Monday.
That is
Oh, a fly-in.
the GSI DC fly-in.
Okay, so yeah, so probably no meeting on the 15th.
Yeah.
And then same question for billing purposes at this point. You guys know if you're going or not going to DC?
I will try to.
I'm going.
The plan. Yep.
I don't know yet.
Don't know yet. Commissioner
I will
Jordan,
not be going.
I was assuming that might be the case.
I don't think that would be wise for me.
You'd like to move the strategic planning meeting from the 15th to 22nd.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go.
May. I think Wasack's board meeting is on the west side, like that second week of May.
Yeah.
But I'll find that date and those dates and get them to Gina. June. July, we always take the week of 4th of July off. And then traditionally, we always take the last week of July and the first week of August off. That's kind of a summer recess. Helps people that may be doing other things those weeks.
Just saying.
September, Labor Day is really early.
Do you want just one strategic meeting in August?
I think, yes. Do that too.
Or just the one?
Yes. I think it's a thing, Scott, as things come up, if we need to, then we can always add.
Yep, you can always notice one.
Right. In August.
Oh, in August, okay.
There's only one because the 5th, there's no meeting.
Yeah.
And trying to keep it open for people. Okay, so then September,
Do we wanna have those two strategic meetings back to back or move?
Yeah, I think move the
One down.
16th
yeah.
to the
we can do
23rd.
11 guys. October.
We'll have the fall, spring and fall WASAC this year, 24 or not?
The county leaders conference.
Yeah.
That'll be it's in November.
Well, I know the meeting we do in Ellensburg.
That's in September. That's what I gotta get
Yeah, okay, that's why I was wondering where in September it was.
It's in September. I'm not sure which week, so that's why I gotta get those. I do know, I did ask Eric this morning on the November one. I know that. Yeah, because it's,
It's usually the week before Thanksgiving, there's no meetings for WASAC.
yes, and that's the date. It's
It's in Vancouver this year.
Clark County. Yep. 19th through the 21st in Clark County.
Are we canceling meetings that week?
Yes, we would cancel the 18th. And the 19th.
So the health district board meeting will also be canceled on Thanksgiving Day.
Yes.
Yeah, we generally move it.
I don't know, got kind of a hard ass chair this year. He may just
yeah.
haul you guys all in.
Commissioner Kearns might be cracking the whip.
I think that goes to the
It moves to like the first
December
Thursday.
5th.
I think it usually does, yeah. Probably where.
Because it was the 6th this year, so. So that, Gina, would just move to the 5th of December, the Board of Health meeting.
So the budget adoption in December, is that gonna be on the 2nd or the 9th?
Second, first Monday of December.
Okay.
So then you guys will need to figure out going back from there, and when's the September deadline for?
That'll be on the first Monday of, well, it'll probably be the first Tuesday that we'll present preliminary budget to the board.
So if we can add that, just because I think that is important to note that that's coming.
Which date were you saying?
Should be the
Or the
third.
September
Since it
3rd.
falls on, yeah.
So when we do this, I guess the question is on the single sheet page. It's not the normal meeting schedule if we're switching from the first to the second Mondays. So we're gonna have to
Update that, yep.
figure out how to do that.
On the strategic,
Yes, on the Monday meetings.
Yep.
Because it's not normal.
it is not. Yeah, we'll clean that up too.
So figure that out. Okay. Okay. Okay, that takes care of those items. Takes us back to,
Commissioner, do you want to also adopt this afternoon?
sure.
Okay.
So that'll be the official schedule for the commissioners. And then if people have other vacations in the meantime, then we just need to inform Scott a week ahead and like a full week ahead, because as we plan the agenda, or whoever's chair and plans the agenda with you, it needs to be known by then. So, okay. That's gonna take us to the Spokane Regional Health District Board elected member appointment. So with the, I don't know if you wanna start, or I know I'm just to go, since when we met at the health board last week, we have a whole process that we're gonna go through to bring on the new board members, since we know the appointed board members have to come up for reappointment every 2 years. Two of them announced that they do not want to put their name in again. One will put his name in again. Charlie Duranona will be reapplying. But that leaves us 2 positions for sure that we will have to go through the process on. We talked about the, what's the other position that the American.
Tribal rep.
Yes, so it's, what's the group?
The Washington State Indian Health Commission.
Okay, there we go. So they are the ones who are supposed to appoint the person to the health board. And we are still requesting that, and we'll put another request into that organization to do that. We, as the board, are not making that decision, but that's the decision for that group, because that's what the RCW states. If the RCW gets changed, then we will look at changing that. But we are holding to what the RCW states. So, and partly, you know, I think their issues, the same issues we have, is we have several tribes within our area that we work with, and so not wanting to pick and choose between the tribes, that's the role of what that association was supposed to be doing. But I don't know that they want to do that either. So, but that's, again, holding to the RCW, that's how it's supposed to go. So Kevin Freeman is leaving, and I think last week we talked about that we didn't want to change the numbers or any of that. So with Kevin Freeman leaving, that leaves, if we would like to still have one elected, which I think we do, representing cities, what that's going to look like. And I'm going to throw out there, Kevin. We picked Kevin because he was the vice chair the year before. He'd been on the health district a lot of times, so we wanted that continuity as we were switching to the new.
And he's traditionally the small cities rep on
Yes.
most boards.
I mean, he is the small, represented the small cities. So looking at that, and we used to alternate between like the city of Spokane, the small cities. Well, we used to have representation from all of those. And so do we want to look at alternating and how that would be? It's a decision of the commissioners to choose how we want to do this and what we want to do, but why I'm bringing this up now is because I think we want to have somebody, we want to just make a decision today and have somebody in place, so that way as we move forward with bringing the other members on board, we have a full board to do that versus waiting, because otherwise then it's going to put us in a position where it's just really the commissioners making the decision as to who we're choosing, and then it comes back to the commissioners. So, Amber.
So are you suggesting that we get into like a rotation with like small cities, City of Spokane Valley, and then we would ask them to appoint to the seat, or to give us a name for who wanted to serve?
Or I think we can choose who.
It's not up to the individual cities.
It's up to the
It's
board.
up to us to appoint who from those cities, but I'm fine rotating through the cities.
Yeah.
It's just they're probably going through the same process we just did in January to determine all the different boards that they're going to serve on. So do we even know who would be interested in serving?
I I don't know that we know exactly who's interested in serving on, from each of the different cities. I know as commissioners, I think we do want to make that choice, because the cities sometimes will play games, not as I've watched the city of Spokane Valley and different cities. That, I think we want to pick somebody, and we're purposeful in how we choose the area and all of that that's being represented. So, Mr. French.
So I like the idea of doing the rotation. Have you guys considered any term? Is it a 1 year, 2 year, 2 year term?
I think we go with the same with the outside groups, where it's a 2 year term. So I guess kind of like last year, I feel like we're just kind of under the time frame that we could do that in the future. I don't know if we're gonna have time to request the cities to get us somebody, because we wouldn't be able to approve them until we start looking at applications.
We're not gonna fill the other seats until the end of January, early February.
Right, I would like that elected that would be on board to help us choose who those people are.
Oh, I see.
That's the problem, that's the time crunch we're in.
You have the 4 elected officials on the health district all weighing in on who the non-electeds are.
Otherwise, it's just gonna be the 3 of us choosing,
Yeah.
which then it just comes back and it's a rubber stamp, Commissioner French. I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out how to do it. That we, since we just made this decision, I haven't thought through it all. But since we made the decision last week that that's how we're gonna be doing the appointment process. Any of us from the health board should have been thinking through a month ago when Kevin said he wasn't gonna be there. I didn't think through it, so we're at the point where.
Yeah, I think we're doing interviews, the 3rd week of January, or when we get
Yes.
back from
The
the
22nd.
GSI trip.
It's the 22nd.
So we just don't have all of our electeds in the valley or the city seated yet, so.
But we know who they are.
Yes.
So, that's, I guess that's the thing. We all know who is gonna be there, Commissioner French.
So philosophically, and correct me if my interpretation is wrong here, but this is a county organization, and it's a board of county commissioners that makes the appointment. So it would be up to us to say, from the city of Spokane, it's gonna be you, from the valley, it's gonna be you, from the small city, it's gonna be you, as opposed to them saying, we want this person on the health board. That ain't the way it's gonna work. It's gonna work where we're going to say, this is the person we want on the health board, and it'll be the county appointment.
Yes, and it'd be up to that person to choose if
They want to accept it or not. Okay,
yes. It's taking it out of the hands of the,
yeah, no, I'm fine.
because it's truly an appointment of the board.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, if we do the rotation, do we want it to be someone from the city of Spokane or someone from the city of Spokane Valley at this point? That would be the first question, is how we want that rotation to work.
We did small cities, how about we go the big city?
Yeah, we can, I'm just gonna be honest, I think, I would say city of Spokane, and I'm gonna say Cathcart. He just got reelected, so we know he's gonna be around for the next 2 years. And he represents, as you know, Amber, one of the poorest income areas in the city of Spokane. So that's kind of where I'm thinking, because again, you want to have the representation. Kevin definitely Miller area was, in representing small cities. If you go to the city of the valley, they all represent it's
At large.
at
They're all
large,
at
thank
large.
you. So then it would be, choosing any one of them, but I think as we've, as a health district, we're trying to look at the health, you represent that same area, but anybody we would choose, we all have someone who represents that, but I think having that small, lowest income as we start to get into the city of Spokane. So that was my thought.
Like you said too, most senior member there too,
And he's a city member.
which is wild. One term.
I guess the process is a strange process for me. For us just to choose. I think that I guess we can approve or disapprove, but I guess if I were a city council member in the Valley or the city of Spokane, they're gonna go through the whole process of deciding who can go to different meetings, who wants to be on different boards. And I would think they would make a recommendation to us based on their schedule and who's attending other meetings and how many committees they're on. I remember at the city, we had there were a lot of committees just like here. And so folks were always trying to divide those up equally. So I just think it's an odd process to just randomly choose another elected official, but I guess we've never gone through the process before, so.
Well, we
Well,
have.
did
Yeah,
last
we
year.
actually, we have.
How Kevin Freeman got it.
That's how
So-
Kevin
I mean, we didn't put it
Kevin
out
Freeman.
to all the small cities or any of that. We're just like, Kevin,
You're in.
for the reasons we discussed, we
Yeah.
put him as, and he accepted. Because we didn't put it out to all the small cities, so Liberty Lake didn't have an opportunity. None of the small cities had an opportunity. We just made the decision that Kevin was the one we wanted to go with.
That was the reason why I was asking philosophically, is it a city appointment or is it a board appointment and stuff? Because
Well,
For the
is
cities-
it outlined? Do we have any process that's been written down for how we make the choice?
we're doing that now and
Well-
stuff, so it's, if it's a board appointment, it's our appointment process. If it's a city seat, then it's a city, but I agree with the chair. I mean, it's a regional board, it's a county board, it's what we did the last time. Why would we change?
So we don't have it written down how we make the decision? Okay,
Yeah, we did.
but we do have it written down, we do have a process for appointing the other citizen members.
Yes, that is all
Okay.
set by RCW.
RCW.
The appointment from the board for the elected is just the Board of County Commissioners make the decision. That's, and yes, and I think there's just reasons why we as the board want to make that decision, because we're the ones providing the funding, the additional funding for the health district. So,
There is some logic in that Kevin was small cities, now you're going to Spokane Valley, back to small cities, so, I mean, it does set up that
I
kind of
mean, we could go to
rotation,
Spokane Valley
yeah.
next, and, I mean, I would say, I don't know if he would come back, but that's part of it is, I would say Ben Wick, because he's been a member of the health board before. He's in for the next 2 years, so.
I mean, to that point, Betsy was on the board before, correct?
She was, but she's council president now, I think she's gonna be a little busier.
Well, again, I think that's kind of not for us to decide whether or not they're busy or not.
Actually, it is for us
No,
to
but I mean,
decide.
I
That
can't
is
speak
part
to
of-
know if she's gonna be busy or not without having a conversation. I don't know if Commissioner Jordan wants to weigh in.
For groups like the Transportation Council, how does it work there in different groups other than the health board? It seems that the norm is typically that the body sends recommendations and in most of the committees that we're on. Is that fair?
That is true. The RCW is specific to the health board, and the health board is the only one that we fund entirely. I mean, we give the $2 million. Cities provide no additional funding to the health district. So that's why it's really up to the Board of County Commissioners to make that decision versus going to each of the cities. I would have loved, and I said this at the board meeting, for the board, the RCW not to have changed, and we kept the board the same way we did before. And then it was the decisions of the cities to determine who was going to become the member at that time. That was the point that happened then. But we're here now, and this is where we're at, so. And honestly, again, any of the board members, Josh, Amber, could have thought through this. I just happened to think through it, that we've got to get this, it'd be good to get it appointed, determine who that person is before we start to go through interviews. So Commissioner Jordan, then I'll go to Commissioner French.
Yeah, and apologies, I'm not on the board, so hadn't thought of it prior, but I would like to just take a look at the RCW. My guess would be, and Chris here, that because it's a board decision, I understand that. Nobody's saying it's not our decision. The question is, what's the process that we want to go through to make that decision? And it seems to me that if we wanted to, we could ask the city for a recommendation. That doesn't mean we have to take it, but we could still ask for it. And that would allow them to, like Amber said, discuss amongst themselves who's the best fit, who has time, etc. I think that would make sense to me, and it's probably allowed under statute for us to solicit recommendations if we would like to.
I don't think it speaks to it, so that's again just a decision that we would be making, but we can move this till a miscellaneous 2 o'clock. Commissioner French. Because the problem is we're not going to have anyone to be able to, we're going to have to, just trying to look at the calendar.
So,
Because we don't meet again until the 8th. And so the 22nd is when we, I think, have scheduled to be doing the interviews or look at the
I think getting this
applications.
done quicker rather than later
Yes.
is definitely the smart move.
so just 2 comments. One, state statute sets this up as a state or county board. We're the ones designated to make the appointment. Why we would acquiesce our authority to some other agency, I'm really confused about. I don't understand that. It has worked in the past. It should work now. The other part of it that I'm really confused about is the lowest income area in the county and the one that has the greatest diversity and the greatest impact from a health standpoint is the northeast part of the city of Spokane. So that means that 2 representatives, it's either Bingle or Cathcart. Cathcart just got reelected. He's got the longest duration and term, and he's also the senior member. I don't understand why you wouldn't do that. I mean, I'm really puzzled by what's the logic behind not doing Cathcart. I mean, other than politics, what's the logic behind it? I don't understand. We talk about diversity and representing communities that have been impacted and stuff. Here's an opportunity to do that. Why would we not do it? I'm confused.
Yeah, that was why he came to mind for me.
Yeah.
So,
So we're gonna bring it forward as a by leave item this afternoon so we can take care of it?
well, we can bring it up under miscellaneous and then make a motion after we have a discussion. Commissioner Jordan.
Has anybody even spoken with him and asked if he's available and interested? Have there been conversations that have been happening that I'm not aware of?
I saw him at a retreat that I was at, not this weekend, but the last weekend, and mentioned it to him, what his thoughts would be. Because we had our meeting, and I was just like, I think, he is interested.
I spoke with him after our Northeast PDA meeting on Friday over at the community center afterwards, and he said he was willing to do it.
So like I said, I'm happy to switch to the Valley if we want to switch to the Valley. So Dunwick would be my pick from the valley.
Happy to stay with the city.
Two of us have spoken to the person that said they're willing to do it. That's the thing, and we,
Yeah.
so.
I think to give Amber and Chris time to look at the RCW, I'm willing to wait till this afternoon because there is no process that I have seen. And at the health board meeting, we talked to Michelle Fossum about it, and that it is the board's, the county commissioner's choice as to who is the other representative, because it's our choice of whether we expand it or not. I mean, we could go back to 3. You know, and just have it be the commissioners and not have anyone from the city on it.
It doesn't even really, truly, I mean, in theory, have to be the city. We can appoint the treasurer, the auditor, the assessor. I mean, it's an elected official. I mean, it doesn't even have to be.
So Haley's head popped
Yeah,
up and
yeah.
said treasurer.
Is Mike Baumgartner also on the health board? So, I mean, in reality, we can, I mean, that's acceptable. I mean, that there's nothing, you know, prohibiting us from doing that. But I think, you know, a city legislative, you know, official makes more sense.
I agree. I mean, because eventually, I mean, I'd love to have the cities come back on board, but to do that, it's really then what does the financial structure look like as we do that? Because if we're gonna allow further representation of cities, then there has to be a discussion as to further representation of finances. Because then they're really making decisions knowing their finances and knowing the finances of the health district and the county, you know, and their cities versus, you know, we're making decisions as commissioners on the board because we know our financial constraints as well. And know that what we don't want to have happen is you fill it up with people that aren't representing their financial interests, because they can then come up with a budget that is completely out of whack, that they can come to us asking for $5 million, and then we as the county commissioners say, we don't have that $5 million. And so then in an attempt to make the county commissioners look bad, you know, it's just that whole, it's like, that's why it's important to have, you know, us being represented and us, you know, choosing the person.
Well, we beat up the whole appointment process pretty darn good when the legislation got passed. I mean, we had attorneys giving us opinions right and left about how to get through this and stuff. So, I mean, it's not as though this is the first time we've had to deal with this.
Right, and we had Kevin part of the process. I mean, I guess that's what I was kind of thinking back to, is like, it was important to have him there. You know, and it was then 4 people, so there could be a, you know, a split vote, and then we have to make, I think we did have a split vote, and we had to make some decisions. So, you know, as we went through the appointment process. So it's important to have whoever that person is on board at this point in time. Sorry that it's just coming up, but it's like all, you know, we're working in progress as we are trying to figure this all out. But again, we are the ones that are financially responsible, the RCW states, and so that's why it is the county commissioners that make the decision. So we will bring this back up at 2 o'clock and miscellaneous.
You had to adopt a new one with the new RCW. Sorry, I was just asking for the actual county updated.
Resolution.
Yeah. I know we saw it a couple weeks ago when we were discussing whether we wanted to change the composition, but I don't know if I had it at my fingertips here.
Mamisho has it, I know. So we can get that to you guys. Chris, you'll be able to send that out.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we will bring that up under miscellaneous before we adjourn. because then we will have at least 2 new members that will be joining the board, so.
Madam Chair, real quick, what was the January date that was driving the time frame here? I just missed that part. Can you repeat that?
So yes, so we're gonna be opening it up for people to apply, and then we're gonna be looking at those applications on the 22nd of January.
The non-elected positions.
So there is a little bit of time, but it would be putting it right close to that, and I think it'd be nice to have somebody who knows that they're gonna be doing this, so they can kind of just start getting themselves refreshed, and especially with the new executive director coming on board too, or health administrator.
And to set up a time to do an orientation.
Yeah.
With the health districts.
So that's part of my thinking, is just to give that person time to do that. Because otherwise, you know, say if it's a brand new council member, they don't start till January and they're getting pretty entwined, you know, just up, as you know how it goes. There's a lot to get up to speed on in a short amount of time. So part of my thinking, having a seasoned council member would be good at this point in time. Two-year term at this point. I think we set the term. I don't know. I think we do. So those are, I mean, the thoughts that went through my mind as we were trying to think through this. So, okay, that'll be, we'll bring that up again at 2, after the 2 o'clock. Is there anything else now?
One exec session item.
Okay, one more second.
No miscellaneous though.
Okay, no more miscellaneous.
Okay, we've got one exec session for labor negotiations under RCW 4230, 144. In addition to the board, Chris Anderson and myself will have Ashley Cameron and Kyle Tewig. And it'll be 10 minutes, no action expected.
I have a hard stop at 11:45.
So don't go over.
11:30.
That's what you said last
I
week, and
know.
I remember us going an hour over.
We went for about 3 days.
Yeah.
If you don't have any questions, we'd be
Exactly.
fine.
Keep teasing
I
Scott.
talked for 5.
Okay, so we're gonna be going into executive session for labor negotiations, no actions anticipated, so at that time, 11:30, we will adjourn for the morning and we'll reconvene for 2 o'clock. We will see everybody at that point. Thank you all very much.